Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? All right, I'm here to answer the question, why can toddlers not sit still? Why can toddlers not sit still? It's a big question out there, and I'm here to share a few tips on why toddlers cannot sit still. I'll leave the rest of the discussion to our live session, our Instagram live session that'll be happening tomorrow by 4:30 p.m. West African time. We'll have a special guest who will be talking about that, Aisha Doris Mohammed. So watch out for more discussions on this topic. But for today, why can toddlers not sit still? Now, toddlers have been, as when they were born, right? They are lying on their backs, sitting, crawling, cruising around. All of a sudden, they learn this unique skill called walking. They learn the skill that adults have to walk around. It's a new skill. It's exciting to toddlers. They want to practice the skill. So you see toddlers working because they need to learn the skill. They need to master it. They need it to live in this world, to be functional, to be effective here. So they keep practicing that skill. They walk around. They repeat that action. So the key word there is that they repeat the action. They keep repeating the action until they master the skill. So toddlers can't sit still because they have a new skill and they need to master it. So what they do to help them master that skill is practice. And for walking, they need to keep walking around. So that's one. Number two, children between 1 to 3 years olds are in a period called the unconscious absorbent mind, right? Unconscious absorbent mind. This means that children between 1 to 3 years old learn unconsciously. You cannot call a toddler and say, for example, if they're learning language, you're speaking Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa in your house, you can't call a 1 year old and say, sit there. So today is Igbo, in Igbo, Bia is come, or Tefi in Hausa is go. You don't do that. What you do is that you speak the language in the environment and the children absorb it. So when children are in the period called unconscious absorbent mind, what they are doing is that they are learning unconsciously. That means that they're absorbing unconsciously. They're absorbing everything in the environment using their senses. So they are, whatever they smell, whatever they hear, whatever they see, whatever they feel, they absorb it unconsciously. That is why we need to be very careful about what we make available to children when they are young, especially between 1 to 3 years old, because their brains are like sponges. They absorb anything. If you put a mixture of soap, fuel, muddy water, and all that in a container, and you put sponge in it, what the sponge will do is it will absorb everything in that bowl. It will not decide to absorb soap, or decide not to absorb water, or decide whatever to absorb. It absorbs whatever it finds in its environment. That's what a sponge does. That's the same with children. Whatever they hear, they absorb. Between 1 to 3, they learn unconsciously. Whatever they see, they absorb. Whatever they hear, whatever they feel, they absorb. They even absorb your habits or your attitude. They absorb the way that you talk. They absorb so many things in their environment. So we need to be careful about that. So now, within this period when they are learning unconsciously, in Montessori education, we are told that the children are born with a natural energy called home. It's called home, and this home is like a force, a natural energy within the children that they cannot control. It causes them to move around. It causes them to be curious. It causes them to walk around and explore the environment. Because between 1 to 3 years olds, the way children learn is by through their senses and with movement. So they learn by moving and through their senses. So in education, they call that the sensory motor stage of development. So they learn through their senses and through movement. So if they don't move around, they can't learn as much as they should. So toddlers cannot sit in a place because they have that inborn natural energy called home that causes them to move around. Once their attention is drawn to something and they're curious about something, they keep at it until they learn the lesson that they're supposed to learn from that activity or from that situation. Let me give an example. If you have candle, right, in the house, and a toddler is seeing the candle for the first time, what the toddler would do is be drawn to the candle, with the fire on the candle. And what the toddler wants to do is to touch the fire. So, and what adults usually do is say, stop it, don't touch it, stop it, don't touch it. Toddlers will not hear, stop it, don't touch it. They will want to touch it because that is a learning moment for them. So the only time that they will stop doing what you are asking them to do is when they have learned the lesson that they're supposed to learn from it. So let's go back to the candle example. If they touch the fire and it burns them, they have learned that lesson. They will not go back to the fire anymore. So that is one example with the candle. Let's take another example. Sometimes the toddler, you buy some toys and the toddler is drawn to one. You discover that they keep using that toy over and over and over and over and over again until they've learned the lesson that they're supposed to learn from that playing with that toy. Once they've learned that lesson, they've passed that sensitive period. They've passed that sensitive period. They're no longer sure. If you bring it again, they'll not be interested in it. They'll leave it and move on to something else because they have learned the lesson that they're supposed to learn from that activity, from that material, from that resource. So these are just few tips that I have dropped out here. We're going to hear more. So the skill of sitting still takes time for different people to learn, and it's something that children will learn eventually. But when they are toddlers, it's a new skill, it's exciting, they need to repeat it and practice. And they have an energy called home. It drives them to want to learn and to explore the world using movement and their senses. That is why you have children picking things and putting it in their mouths, because they want to understand what does it taste like, what does it feel like, what does it look like. Until once they learn this, once they've learned what they want to learn from that material, they lose interest in it and they move on to something else. So children are born ready to learn. Children are born prepared and equipped with all that they need to learn. All that we need to do as adults is make sure that the environment is safe. Prepare that environment. Make sure it is safe. It is okay for children to explore, and let them be free to explore. Once you have kept the place safe, there's no harm, there's no danger in sight, let children be free to move around and explore. Thank you, everyone, and see you during our Instagram live session for more on why my child or why children cannot sit still with Aisha Doris Mohammed. See you then, 4:30. Don't forget.